You're saying when considering the triangles formed changing the triangle formed by A and B, the moving airplane C, and the moving airplane C, which of the following angles below increases in the measure as the airplane flies due west beyond the point directly above A. So they're saying, like, let's say point C, where the airplane is apparently moving into this direction. That's the west direction. And they're saying that as the airplane passes above already the point above A, like as the airplane already exceeds this point here, once it reaches, like, let's say here, which angle actually changes its measures in the triangle that's called ABC? So imagine this is the new triangle they're talking about. As the airplane moves, the triangle changes its shape and changes the measures of the angles. Does this mean that this angle C, this one, changes than this one? ولا لا? And does that mean that this angle A has now changed from that angle A? No. And B between this other B or not? I think all of them, and they clearly all have changed. So angle A has changed definitely, angle B has changed, and angle C has changed, all three of them. But when you look at the choices, that's not the case. It's either 1 or 1 and 2, or 1 and 3, or 2 and 3. Which do you think is the problem? Which do you think may not ever change? Is it C? You think the answer is 2 and 3, which means B and C will change, but A will not change. Is that what you're trying to say, Carlo? Oh, okay. طيب, look at مثلا, let me make a better drawing شوية. So here's, let's say, a new triangle, this one. This is now where the airplane is actually at. Okay. Now, when you look at the changes that happened to the angles below, this was the angle A, and this was the angle B. The same increase that happened in angle A, it was this much, and now it increased by this much. The same increase that happened here is the same decrease that happened here as well. So whatever changes that happened to B, element B, is the same change that happened in A as well. The only angle that will always remain with the same measure is this angle here, C. This will always remain with the same angle. Now, there's another explanation, برضو, for why is this true. If you look at this angle, اللي هي C, originally it was looking, الانجل بص على السايد ده AB, اللي هو عنده distance 14,000 اللي احنا جبناه. السايد ده, as the plane is moving, the distance اللي ما بين الرادرز that does not change, it remains the same. So الانجل اللي بص على الديستنس دي اللي ما بين التو رادرز will not change as well. But the other two angles اللي هي angle B كانت الأول بص على السايد ده اللي هو الديستنس بتاعته 15,000. السايد ده دلوقتي بقى الماجر بتاعته هنا, which has changed definitely. It got bigger. أو sorry, it got smaller maybe. But this side 13 اللي هو كانت بص عليه angle A, it got much bigger. So apparently angle A would change. So angle A and angle B must change because the distance between the airplane and the radars is changing. But the distance between the two radars themselves, that's not changing at all. So the angle looking at that distance should not change. So that means that A and B, yes, will change, but CS will not change ever because it's looking at the same distance that stayed the same no matter what. Does that kind of make sense? ولا مش قوي? So it's actually C. And I explained it in two different ways, by looking kind of or imagining it, and by knowing that the sides and angles corresponding or in front or opposite to each other affect each other. Yes, Yakov.
مستر هو كانت الأنسر أصلا إيه؟
ما هو
ما
إيه
كانتش
increase سوري عشان انا ما خدتش بالي ان they're asking بس على increase. I thought they're asking على change عامة. So برضو by looking at it apparently B will get smaller. احنا already قلنا ان B will get smaller بس A هي اللي get bigger صح. So A بس is the one that's getting bigger. So A is the answer. I thought they're talking about which angles below of the angles below will change. I did not شفتوا انا اتلخبطت معاك. This is the common mistake اللي انا بقول عليه reading through the question. Increases is a keyword here, so we're not supposed to be looking for any change whatsoever. We're supposed to be looking for the angles that increase. But it's extremely important to point out in C will not change. The measure of angle C will not change because it's still looking across the same side somehow. Are we good?
Yes.
Are we sure? Oh, I noticed Emre now, but I didn't notice why you were talking about A, but except now when we said increase. Type number 36. It says here, Troy made a rectangular poster that is 4 feet long and 2 feet wide. So we have this rectangle that has 4 in length and 2 in width. The poster is too large to fit in the available display space. So Troy is going to make a new poster that will have an area that's 50% of the area of the original poster. I'll stop here. Apparently they said 50% of the area. Can I get the area? And apparently I can, because the area of any triangle is supposed to be length times width. So 4 times 2, and that's 8. That's the area of this rectangle now. They said that the area of this new poster is 50% of the area. So 50% of the 8. Yani half the 8, which is 4. This is the new area of the new poster. Then they said the length of Troy's new poster will be 3/4 the length of the original poster. So the length of the new poster is 3/4 the original poster اللي كان اللength بتاعه before. Which means that I can do on a calculator 3/4 times 4, which means that the answer is 3. That's the new length of the new poster. How many feet wide will be the new poster? So they need to know the width بكام. أنا عارف الاريا الجديدة which is 4. الاريا المفروض تكون length times width، وأنا عارف اللينث الجديد اللي هو 3. So I need now to know الويدث اللي أنا معرفوش بكام. عشان أعرف الويدث بكام I need to move ال 3 to the other side by division. So يبقى عندي 4/3 that's equal to W. So I know now إن الويدث is 4/3. When you look at the choices ما عنديش 4/3 وأنا عارف وواثق من الأنسر بتاعتي. Therefore 3/4 دي أصغر من 4/3، أصغر من 1 so it doesn't make sense. دي 1.5 أنا عارف إن ال 1.5 المفروض تكون 3/2 so that doesn't make sense. دي أكبر من 4/3 بكتير ودي ما تنفعش ودي ما تنفعش so apparently it's G. حتى لو أنا مش عارف قصة إن أنا أفلتر الchoices ممكن أمسك 4/3 على الكالكوليتر and then you click on Shift SD as we discussed last class برضو, and that would give you the mixed fraction of it which is 1/3. Does that make sense? Ask.
مستر هو ده PS8 صح؟
إيه يا حبيبتي؟
ده صح ولا إيه؟
ده إيه؟
ده PS8؟
Yeah, yes.
مش 7.
لا ده أول حاجة في 8. 7 كان في أول question بس اللي مش على التراينجل، وبعدين بعد كده كل الكويستشنز الباقية كانت على التراينجل اللي هو الايربلين والحوار ده.
اوكي فهمت.
بس. يارا ask يا حبيبتي if you feel a bit confused still، عشان أنا it should make sense شويتين تلاتة.
Okay, so the way I did it was, we have the first area, we get the second area, that's easy.
Okay.
وبعديها we know that it's gonna have second area is 50%.
Which is 4, okay.
So there's only like a few possibilities of what the numbers can be. Well, they gave us that.
But that's if they're possibilities. That's if they're integers. But if they're decimals, they're like lots and lots.
But they gave us the length. So the length is gonna end up being, and what I did was divide 4 by 3.4, and so I got 3.
Multiplied 3 over 4 by 4. Yes, you got 3, which is the length, which is this length that I got here.
Yeah.
Okay.
After that, I'm kind of lost.
Okay, so they need to know. So I have the new area. Isn't this the area?
Yeah.
And I know that the area is supposed to be equals to the length times the width, right? I have the new length, which is 3, so I'll substitute it there. And I have the new area, which is 4, so I substituted it there. Now the only missing part is the new width, right? Which is the one that they're asking for, right?
Yeah.
So I have an equation. 4 is equals to 3 multiplied by W. If I need to know the W is equals to what, I'll move the 3 to the other side by division, because they're multiplied, right? So then it goes to the other side and the W becomes 4 over 3. When you look at so I know the width, that's the Y. Right?
Okay.
Now, when you look at the choices, that's not there, but I know that I can just change this fraction to a mixed fraction by the calculator and get to check whether my answer is there or not. And apparently it would be G.
Okay, yeah.
Makes sense?
Yep.
Awesome.
All good.
All good. Let's check 37. What is the solution set of the equation below? Now, when you start solving the equation, any equation whatsoever, when it has x's and so on, as long as it doesn't have x squared, then I should put the x's on one side and the numbers on the other side. First, I'll distribute the 2 on the bracket, so I'll have x plus 6 equals to 2x plus 6 as well, and then minus x. This will remain as x plus 6. On the other side, I have those as like terms. 2x minus x will cross each other, and I'll have not cross each other, will remain as an x. 2x minus x is just 1x plus 6. Now, when you look at the equation, whenever both sides are exactly equal to each other, no matter what, then this means that all possible values of x would give me, would solve this equation. Instead, in another case, if and only if, let's say this side has x plus 3 and the other side has x plus 4. When you move the x's to one side, you'll have x minus x equals 4 minus 3, which will remain to 0 equals to 1. When both sides are not equal, that means it has no solution whatsoever. And we've discussed this before, and I remember you did that actually really well. So again, whenever we say no solution, this is when the equation, both sides are actually not equal to each other. But we say that all real numbers are the solution whenever even the x's remove each other, but it would still remain that both sides are equals to each other. 0 equals to 0. So it's true. All real numbers would be a solution. Are we good?
Yes.
Awesome. 38. Steve plans to use 28 feet of fencing to enclose a region of his yard for a pen for his pet rabbit. What is the area in square feet of the largest, this is a very important keyword here, largest region Steve can enclose? So we know the parameter, the fencing means that we know the perimeter of this region. We know that all the sides added to each other should be 28, but they need to know the area. Okay. Better, I got it now. In this one, so we need to understand something. If we need to get the biggest, if we have two things multiplied, A, let's say, multiplied by B, and I need the answer of that to be the biggest answer possible, then I need these two numbers to be the biggest numbers possible. If one of them is too big and the other one is too small, that wouldn't get me the biggest answer. If A is too big and B is too small, that wouldn't get me the biggest C possible. بس أنا عايزهم يكونوا الاتنين أكبر حاجة ممكنة. If they're both equal to each other, that sometimes could be the biggest possible. يعني إيه بقى الليلة دي؟ So if I know that all of those sides added to each other are supposed to be 28, I'll think, طب what if I divided the 28 by 4? كل side أشوف بكام. So that would get me 7. So لو أنا قلت إن كل side ب7, what would be the area? That would get me actually the biggest area possible because 7 times 7 is 49. Now think about this. If I increased any length, if I increased ال 7 دي مثلا, لازم ال 7 دي تصغر. In that case, that doesn't necessarily mean that the answer will be bigger. So, for example, but sometimes it could. So, for example, if I say that instead of that the sides are actually equal to each other, if I say that this side is 1 and this side is 1, what would be the measure of this one, this length here? It should be 28 minus these two widths, which would be 26, and then 26 divided by 2. This means in every length here should be 13. 13 multiplied by 1 is just 13, so the area of this one would be just 13, which is much, much smaller than 49. Now, if I decided to increase the 1 وخليها مثلا 2, the 13 in this case will have to become 12. So then the area of this thing would be 12 times 2, which is 24. So as I'm increasing the width with decreasing the length, clearly the area عمالة تكبر. So that's why I'm 100% sure and 7 and 7 would give me the area. Yes, it's a type of rectangle as well. It does work. Or why wouldn't it be? Do you get my point, Bera? It's like a rectangle is some sort of a square where where the length and the width are equal to each other. So they did not say that it's a rectangle. They said it's a rectangular region. That means it could be actually formed in a square. And they don't have. There's no such thing as a squareler region. Do you get my point? You get what I'm trying to say. So that's why 49 would make the perfect sense. Again, if you tried any other measure, if you tried best to increase the 7 to become 8, then this would have to become 6, and 8 multiplied by 6 would be 42. It would be less than the 49, which is not even one of the answers. Definitely 49 would be the biggest that this shape could get. Emre and Yara and Carla were good. And Ali, انت ايه؟ مش بتقول لي ايه النظام؟ طيب كارلا انت رحتي فين؟
Yes, guys. أنا هنا.
طب ايه؟
كويس.
تحول عليا ليه؟ طيب خلينا بس نقول حاجة سيمبلر شوية. أنا عايز إن أكبر اريا تكون موجودة في الشيب ده. لو أنا عايز أكبر اريا يكون السم بتاع السايدز بتوعهم 28، هقول اللي هيجي في دماغي إن أنا هقسم ال 48 على الأربعة سايدز، وكل واحدة منهم هتبقى 7. هشوف الاريا ممكن تكون بكام. لو جيب الاريا المفروض ان انا اعمل ده سايد تايمز سايد، يعني 7 تايمز 7 يعني 49. سو هقول خلاص ادي ده اوبشن ممكن يكون 49. جرب بقى لو انا غيرت الماجرز دي شويه بس يفضل السم بتاعهم 28. لو نقصت واحده من هنا لازم انا ازود واحده هنا عشان يفضل السم بتاعهم 28. فلو مثلا قررت ان انا اخلي دي 6 واخلي دي 8 كده ماشي، هيفضل السم بتاع السايدز كلهم فوق 28. بس لو جبت الاريا ما بين 8 و 6 هعمل 8 times 6 هيطلع لي 42 which means it's smaller than 49. so هقول لا خلاص يبقى هي اكيد ال 49 لان دي اكبر حاجه. Does this make better sense شويه يا كارلا؟
Yes.
طيب يا عمر.
Thank you.
Most welcome. Let's see 39. In 39 they say there are exactly 5 people in a bookstore at 12 p.m. Each person earns an annual income that is between 30,000 and 35,000. No one enters or leaves the bookstore until 12:15 p.m. When a professional athlete with an annual income of more 1 million enters the bookstore and joins the other 5 people, the mean, median, range, and standard deviation of the annual income of the 5 people at 12 are calculated and compared to the same 4 statistics of the annual incomes of the 6 people in the bookstore at 12:15. If it can be determined which of the 4 statistics changed the least possible change that happened. So just to avoid the confusion that they're trying to put you in, disregard entirely the fact that this is an athlete thing and bank and bookstore, and so on. Just understand that they're saying there was 5 entries, 5 data points, and those data points were between 30,000, the least one, and 35,000. These were the 5 numbers. أصغر حاجة فيهم 30 and أكبر حاجة فيهم 35. Then a new number has entered, a 6th number has entered, and that 6th number is 1 million. So then we now have the least value as 30,000 and the highest value as 1 million. They're asking which of the following statistics اللي هم الرانج والmean والmedian والstandard deviation have changed the least difference or the least تغيير. هم they've all changed بس ايه اقل تغيير. So let's quickly remember what are every one of those. The range is supposed to be the largest number minus the smallest number, and that has definitely changed a lot. For example, the range at the beginning, there was only a difference of 5,000 اللي هو الفرق ما بين 35 و 30,000. Now الفرق ما بين دول الاثنين is 900,000, 730,000. So 700 بس 970,000. That is the range. So the range have changed drastically. Now let's check the mean. What is the mean? The mean is supposed to be the sum over the number. Now if you get the sum over the number, I don't know what it would be, the first one, but I know for a fact that the other new one, when the 1 million is added, the average have برضو changed drastically. Now what about the median? So I've had numbers all between 30 and 35,000. When I added a 6th number, the median moves one number bigger. So if, let's say, I don't know what was the median. So if the median مثلا was 32, then the number after the median should have been something between still 30 and 35, because originally they were just between 30 and 35. When I added 1 million, the median, if it was مثلا 32, now have stepped to the next number, which is definitely number between 30 and 35. So it's a very tiny change that happened to the median, definitely, more than anything else. So the answer for this one is actually C. Because the standard deviation is and I told you about the standard deviation before, I did not tell you how to calculate it, because it doesn't really matter if you just understand its concept. The standard deviation shows the differences between the numbers. Once you add one number that's extremely far away كده, this changes the standard deviation significantly. Because الفرق ما بين الأرقام وبعضها has changed. There's one new number that's way far from the other numbers, so that has increased definitely the standard deviation. Does that kind of make sense ولا لا? If you remember لما جينا شرحنا statistics شرحنا how to be calculated and so on, but I told you it's more important for you to understand the changes that whenever you change something in the data, what could be affected, or how are those statistics affected by those changes? You get that or لا? And if you don't, please ask, because those kinds of questions are always better understood فعلا with discussions. So what do you have in mind? No problem. That's fine. But as long as you now understand how it works, that's what matters. Perfect. طيب. Let's try number 40. It says Anna and Amy started a landscaping job together. When Anna stopped, she had completed 2/5 of the job. When Amy stopped, she had completed 1/3 of the job. Then Ruben completed the rest of the job in 2 hours. Assume that Anna, Amy, Robin all worked at the same rate. Which of the following values is closest to the number of hours it would have taken one of them to complete the entire job alone? I need to know the rate اللي any of them is working at. يعني if I know any of them finished قد إيه من الجوب في وقت قد إيه, then I know the rate. Because they said that assume that Anna, Amy, and Ruben all worked at the same rate. كلهم work at the same rate. If I knew the rate of any of them, then I've solved the whole question. Now, how do I know the rate? I know there's a specific job. That job, when some of them worked, or when two of them, worked together, when one of them stopped, she finished 2/5 of the X. When the other one stopped, she had finished 1/3 of the job. Then when the rest, this is when Ruben stepped in and he finished it, or she finished it in 2 hours. So if I actually know this much of the job is how much, I know that the rate came because I know this has been finished in 2 hours. So how would I know this is how much? I just need to do 1 minus the first fraction that was done, which is 2/5, and minus again the second fraction that was done, which is 1/3. So on a calculator, just start subtracting right away 1 minus 2/5 and minus 1/3. That would get me 4/15. This is what's remained of the job. لو الأولاني عمل 2/5 والتاني عمل 1/3, يبقى التالت اللي كان فاضل له 4/15 of the job. He finished, or she finished, the 4/15 in 2 hours. So if we needed to do the full job, what's the full job? If this is 4/15, then the full job is 15/15. The one, the full job على بعضها will be finished in how long, or in how many hours? That's what we need to figure out. So I'll cross multiply now. And I'd say 15/15, which is 1, multiplied by the hours, which is 2, divided by 4/15. You put this on a calculator, 1 times 2 divided by 4/15, and it gives you 15/2, which when turned to decimals, it becomes 7/7.5, which is k. One of them would finish the full job in 7.5 hours. Right. I know this sounds weird, so please start asking. Yes, please, go ahead.
Mister, what I did for this was I added both fractions
Okay.
to figure out how much was the percentage. But I got 0.6 في الآخر.
That's what they covered, right?
Yeah, so that's what they got done.
Okay.
Ruben got done
0.4.
40%.
Okay.
So 40% in 2 hours, and 60% for we don't know how much time. So I just cross multiplied. We have 40% in 2 hours, and 100%, and then X. So I cross multiplied that, and I got 5.
So my question is, how did you get the 40? Because the 40% doesn't add up, right? You did 2/5, right? Added to
1/3.
2/5 added to 1/3, and that should get you 0.73.
Oh, I didn't do it with the calculator.
But it's not, because yes, because they don't have the same denominator.
Yeah, but I did the.
So it's 3 here, and
the first one times 3 and the second one times 5.
Type, when you do that, it's 6 plus 5, which is 11 over.
Yeah, I messed up.
That's fine. So 11/15. If you did the same, if you did what you were trying to do, which would be 0.73, then you can say that this is not the one that I want. I need the remaining, which would be 1 minus 0.73, which would be 0.27, which is equivalent to this part here, which then you would cross multiply with the 2, and you'll get 7.5.
Okay, so without the mistake, is it a good way to do it or not?
Yes, it's the same method. It's exactly the same. I just used the fractions, not decimals. It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
I did exactly. You added those up, which I instead subtracted 1 minus each of them. You added them up, and then you subtracted, but still 1 minus both of them. So it's the exact same thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Sure, huh?
Thank you. Yeah.
Most welcome. Now let's quickly try. We won't have enough time to do both. Let's quickly try to work on P9. For P9, I'll give you 6 minutes. 6 minutes starts now. We'll ask as many questions as you want. So let's start by the bracket with the power. That's the first thing we start with, the parentheses, the brackets. And the power would be distributed on every single part inside. The 2 would be to the power of 4, and the a power -1. When it's to the power of 4, I multiply the powers, because if you remember, there's this rule: whenever I have x to the power of something and then another power over it, we multiply the powers. So that's what we do here. Now, instead of root b, because we can't really deal with the roots easily, we can, according to this rule, change from a radical form to an exponential form. يعني من root لpower. And we can make it x to the power of اللي جوه over اللي برا. X to the power of a over b. So instead of root b, أنا ممكن أكتب الباور اللي جوه اللي هو هنا مش مكتوب اللي هو يعتبر 1، والباور اللي بره اللي هو هنا مش مكتوب اللي هو بيعتبر 2، لأن الروت ملوش حاجة أقل من 2. So it becomes b to the power of half. So that's a very well-known thing. Please remember it. And whenever we have root b مثلا, root x, that's the same as x to the power of half. If we have, let's say, x to the power of 2 under the cubic root, it's the same as x to the power of 2 over 3. So instead of the root b, as we said, we're going to put b to the power of half and then put the new power that came in as multiplied by it. So now we have new terms, 2 to the power of 4, which is 16, and then a power negative 1 times 4, which is a to the power of negative 4, and then b to the power of half times 4, which is b to the power of 2. This is my new numerator. Does this make sense or not? This step so far makes sense or not? This is a very important step, okay? Now let's move back further. For the like terms when we're dividing, I'm going to work on the a first. When I have a power فوق or power تحت, according to this rule, x power a divided by x power b, we're supposed to subtract the powers. So here's a rule, here's a rule. So we're supposed to subtract negative 4, I'll do it here on the side كده, a to the power of negative 4 minus a to the power of 1, يعني a negative 4 minus 1, which is a to the power of negative 5. Now, according to this rule, if I have a negative power, I can take it down to become positive. So instead of writing a to the power of negative 5 up, I'll write a to the power of positive 5 down. So this became now 16 times b to the power of 2 over a to the power of positive 5 and the b to the power of negative 3, as it is. So I've just simplified the a part only so far in this step. Any questions until this step? Of course, you should do this in one step, all things together. I'm just trying to explain it for you. طيب. What happens next? ال 16 تفضل زي ما هي. For the b's now, I'll need to actually برضو divide them and simplify them. And we said we subtract the power اللي فوق minus اللي تحت. So it actually becomes b to the power of 2 minus negative 3, which means it's b to the power of 5, positive 5. So next to the 16, I'll put b to the power of positive 5. And down, I'll just leave the a power 5 as it is, but the b خلاص are no longer there in the denominator, it's only in the numerator. So this is supposed to be your final answer. Did I do anything wrong? No, it's C. Are we good? طيب, how should we do this in one step? It should be طبعا done in one step right away. على طول ال 2 power 4 هتبقى 16 and I'll leave it there. هعمل في دماغي negative 1 times 4 تبقى positive, تبقى negative 4 وهنزلها تحت عشان تبقى positive, فيبقى عندي a power 4 تحت و a power 1 تحت. بعدين ال root b to the power of 4 برضو في دماغي هعمل half times 4 which would become 2, so هسيب هنا b power 2 وتحت b power negative 3 وعلى طول 2 minus 3 يعني تبقى b to the power of 5 فوق وهنا a power 4 و a power 1 يعني a to the power of 5 تحت. So يعني ممكن تتعمل أسرع شوية once you get used to this. The same exact things بس بسرعة شوية. 42. Really, to become a contestant on a quiz show, a person must correctly order 4 rock stars by age, from youngest to oldest. The contestant knows which one is the oldest rock star, but randomly guesses at the order of the other 3 rock stars. What is the probability that the contestant will get all 4 in the correct order? So, we have 4 rock stars, 4 spaces, first of all. And we know which one of them is the oldest. So we know the last one. We know there's only one option to select in the last space because we know which one is the oldest. We can't determine what? We can't determine the probability? No, we can determine the probability, but we can't exactly know which order he is going to select because there are lots of them, and I'll show you exactly how many possibilities he can select from. So in order to get the probability of something here, we need to know the wanted over the total. That's according to the rule of the probability. The wanted is for him to select all correct over the total. The total are all the different selections that could be there. And that's the hard part to figure out. Because we know there's only one case where all of them, or the 4 of them, are correct. So we know the wanted is only one scenario, but we don't know the total. We don't know how many possible options he could select. And that's what we're trying to figure out. So how can we figure this out? We say we have 4 spaces. He's going to order them, as they said, from youngest to oldest. So, but they know who is the oldest. So we know that there's only one possible choice to put in the oldest space. But the other 3 spaces, for the youngest, I don't know which of them is the youngest. So he could select, or the contestant could select, 1 out of 3 different possibilities. They could be the first or the second or the third. And then if they selected 1 here, there will be only remaining 2 other possibilities. And if they selected 1 here, there will remain only 1 other possibility to select in this space. Now, if we multiply all of those possibilities by each other, that would get me all the possible choices that they could guess from. So that means that the total choices that they could guess from is 6. And I know that the wanted is the correct one, which is only 1 case. So it's 1/6 as the overall probability. So it's G. Does this make sense? Awesome. So perfect. So هي بس كده ايه, it's like a story thing, and it all started from probability. Just by knowing that I want a probability, I wrote the rule, wanted over total, and I realized I know the wanted, and then I realized the only missing thing is the total, so I started looking for the total by calculating the number of possible choices that could come out. Yes, يا حبيبي.
بس هو انا افتكرت ان هو مش عارف 3 وهو عارف 1 فبعد كده قلت ان هو عايز 1 من ال 3 ده اللي انا افتكرته.
انت ما فهمتيش الريكوست على ايه اصلا، صح؟
لا تقريبا لا.
هي الفكرة ان هو عايز يجس 1 بس مش من 3 options، هو عايز يجس من 6 options اللي هو ممكن يختار اصلا. هم عارفين مين الاكبر واحد، ال3 بقى التانيين ممكن يعك فيهم، ممكن يقول لك مثلا لو احنا 4، انا وانتي ويارا ومثلا بيرا، عشان الليترز تبقى اوكي. سو A B و C و Y. اوكي، ممكن يكون هم عارفين ان انا اكبر واحد فيكم، so A is the biggest anyway. بس الاذر 3 بقى ممكن نبقى اختار اقول والله كارلا is the youngest then يارا then بيرا. بعدين لا، طبعا ممكن اقول بيرا then كارلا then يارا، او ممكن اقول يارا then كارلا then بيرا، او يارا then بيرا then كارلا. So how many possible option كده ممكن اقعد اقوله؟ هتلاقي هم 6 options بس اللي ممكن يطلعوا. ازاي حسبتهم بقى؟ بالطريقه اللي احنا لسه عاملينها دي، ان انا عندي already 3 spaces بس اللي باقيين، وعندي 3 people اختار منهم. So اول space عندي 3 people بس اول ما اختار 1 هنا بقى فاضل لي بس 2 people اختار منهم، واول ما اختار 1 كمان هنا هيبقى فاضل لي 1 بس اختار منه. If I multiply 3 times 2 times 1 this would give me the total number of choices اللي ممكن يطلعوا اللي هو 6. Make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. Thank you.
Perfect يا عمر. Now let's see 43. أنا عايزني simplify fractions, and we know we can't add or subtract fractions unless they have the same denominators. That's for the numerator. We'll work on that first الأول. Now if we want to have them have the same denominator, I'll multiply by 2 up and down, and I'll multiply here by 3 up and down, which will give me 2x plus 3 in the numerator, and in the denominator I'll have 6. This whole thing is just the numerator المكان ده. Now let's work on the denominator. The denominator are all numbers ما فيهوش x's خالص. So it's actually easy to do that on a calculator like right away. And on a calculator, if you do 2/3 minus 1/4, that would get you 11/12. So that's the denominator. So I have now a new fraction The new fraction is 2x plus 3 over 6 all over 11 over 12. We said before we can't divide fractions. Instead, we multiply and we flip the second fraction. So it becomes 12 over 11. And when we're multiplying fractions like that, we multiply numerator by numerator and denominator by denominator. So now I have 12 multiplied by 2x plus 3 in the numerator, and in the denominator I have 6 multiplied by 11. I'll distribute and I'll have 24x plus 36 over 66. On a calculator, I'd still tell you to try and simplify both of them separately, or to try and simplify all and divide it all by 6, for example, because it's all divisible by 6. If you divide it all by 6, or by 12 كمان, بس يعني 6 first of all. If you divide it by 6, you'll have 4x plus 6 over 11. I think I did something wrong. I don't think so, but yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. Let me check 24 divided by 66. And yeah, it's over 11. I think I did something wrong in the calculations. 2 over 3 times 1 over 4. Oh, I'm sorry. I miscalculated this one. It's actually 5 over 12, not 11 over 12. So this one is 5 over 12. So this one is 5. So this one is 5. So actually, I'll start من هنا تاني. 12 divided by 6 is divisible. So I can divide the 12 by the 6 and it becomes just 2 up here. And I'll have here 2x plus 3. And then the denominator just 5. And then I'll distribute the 2. So I'll have 4x plus 6 all over 5 as the correct answer, which is D. Did I confuse you with this mistake? I miscalculated it on a calculator, معلش. Does that make sense ولا في أي مشكلة؟ Hello? All good?
Yes, Mr. Had
Focus away on this one. This uses the same technique we used in the previous probability question. An automobile license plate number issued by a certain state has 6 character positions. 6 character positions. 6 spaces. Each of the first 3 positions contains a single digit from 0 to 9. The first 3 contains digits from 0 up until 9, any number from 0 to 9. But each of the last 3 positions contains letters from one letter out of the 26 different letters available. Digits and letters of the alphabet can be replaced on a license plate. How many different such license plate numbers can be made? They did not give me or tell me any kinds of restrictions. What do I mean by restrictions? They did not tell me that the first number has to be an even one, for example, or they did not tell me that I can't repeat the same letter over and over, or I can't repeat the same number over and over. So it's easy actually now to be solved. When you think about it, in the first 3 positions for the first 3 numbers, how many possible digits to pick from in the first position only? How many digits possible? There are 10 digits from 0 to 9. These are 10 numbers. From 0 to 9, these are 10 possible numbers. And then they did not say anything about repetition, so I can repeat any of the numbers that I select. So I still have 10 choices to pick from here. And I still have another 10 choices to pick from there. As for the letters, I have 26 letters to pick from in the first position, and also another 26 here and another 26 there. So on a calculator, all what I need to do is to multiply all of those options by each other. For the part that has 10 times 10 times 10, there's no need to calculate that on a calculator. That's 1,000. But for 26 times 26 times 26, I'll calculate that part. And that would get me 17576. Because of the 1000 اللي في الأول, I'll add here 3 zeros. When you look at the answers, it's choice K for sure. Does that make sense? Yes, يا حبيبي.
مستر هو احنا ليه ما عملناش 26 لغاية بقى 1؟
برافو.
عشان هو ده اللي انا كنت هحاول اعمله من ثانيتين فاتوا.
اوكي. لغاية 1؟ لا، لغاية 1 دي هتبقى ايه؟ ليه؟ انا محدد بعدد الاماكن اللي هختار فيها ارقام. يعني هي دي نمرة عربية، فالمفروض ان انا عندي 6 بس اماكن احط فيهم ارقام، و3 اماكن احط فيهم حروف. انا ما اقدرش احط all 26 letters كده جنب بعض في نفس النمر. بس لما اجي ابص على اول حرف ممكن اختار من 26 حرف موجودين اللي هم A B C D E F G until Z. فانا ممكن اختار من A، ممكن مثلا احط A هنا، وممكن احط A هنا برضو، وممكن احط A هنا برضو، او ممكن احط A B، او ممكن احط A B B او A C C، او فاهمه؟ ففي كام اوبشن ممكن اختار منه احطه في الثري بوكسز اللي هم بتوع الليترز. عندي 26 لتر اختار منهم هنا، وبرده 26 هنا و26 هنا. بس for the numbers عندي بس 10، لان هم من 0 ل 9 اللي هم 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 لحد 9 دول 10، وبرده 10 هنا و10 هنا. once you multiply you get the possible choices اللي موجودين على طول، زي ما كنا عملنا في السؤال اللي هو بتاع البروبابيلتي اللي كان فوق ده. فاهمه شويه ولا ايه؟
انا فاهمه، بس هو ليه حضرتك كتبت 26 times 26 times 26؟
ليه مش 26 مثلا times 25 times 24 زي اللي فاتوا لما كنا بنعمل؟ عشان اللي فاتوا كان ما ينفعش نكررهم. يعني اللي فات في السؤال ده احنا كنا بنتكلم على روك ستارز، ما ينفعش مثلا اقول، او مثلا احنا كنا بنتكلم علينا احنا الثلاثه، فما كانش ينفع اقول كارلا اند ذن كارلا اند ذن كارلا تاني. لو انا حطيت كارلا خلاص المره اللي بعدها ما كانش ينفع اختار غير من يا اما يارا او بيرا، فما فيش غير 2 choices. لو اخترت يارا في المكان الثاني ما بقاش فيه غير 1 choice، بيرا بس الثيرد choice اللي احطه، because I'm choosing من نفس الثلاث بني ادمين، وما ينفعش اكرر البني ادمين تاني. بس في الليترز ينفع اكررهم عادي. فtherefore في الكيس دي كان ينفع اختار 20 من 26 letters، ولو اخترت A في المره اللي بعدها ينفع ستيل اختار الاي عادي، فستيل عندي 26 letters اختار منهم. فاهمه الاوبشن؟
فهمت البوينت.
فهي عشان كده مثلا هنا برضو لما جيت حطيت الاولدست حطيت 1 بس. ليه 1؟ لان هو كان اوبشن واحد اللي اختاره هو 1، هم عارفين مين الاولدست اوريدي، فعشان كده ما فيش غير 1 اوبشن اللي يتحط هنا، لانه مش بيختاروا ما بين ناس مختلفه. مثلا لو قال لي في الاخر لا والله مثلا هم لازم يختاروا 3 والفورث one could be any of them، كنت هحط 3 تاني هنا في الاخر، ممكن يكون 3 تانيين تاني اوبشنز موجودين. فاهمه حاجه؟
فهمت. Thank you يا مستر.
Most welcome يا حبيبي. آخر واحد number 45 that this is a very easy question because it's all about the transformations أو translations in much better يعني، أو to be specific شوية، اللي هو moving up, down, right and left and so on. They said here and this is the function اللي اسمها y equals f of x. Then suddenly they said what happens if it became y equals 3 plus f of x minus 1. So you check the changes that happen to the function. We know in the كلمة f of x is the same as the y. So when I add 3 to f of something, it means I added to the y 3. So because of this 3, I know when I add to the y 3, I move up 3 units because I'm adding to the y-axis. But when you look inside the bracket, this is the part that's moving for the x. So the 1 is the one that affects the x. That's the one responsible for the movement right and left. And a very important thing to remember, and as we're moving right and left, or as we're moving on the x coordinate or anything inside the bracket كده next to the x, we always take with the opposite side. sign. So instead of actually thinking that we need to move 1 to the left because it's -1, we actually consider it 1 to the right because it should be always with the opposite sign. Does that make sense? Only in the opposite sign when we're talking about the x, when we're inside the bracket. That's when we're talking about the y, we keep the same sign and its movement up and down. So it's 3 units up and 1 right. 3 units up, 1 unit right, and 3 units up. Are we good? Is that clear?
Yes, Miss. Oh.
Please, 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 please fill in the exit ticket.